Hey everyone, it's episode 3, and I present to you another great conversation, this time with my friend Christie Lee of United Launch Alliance. Let's get to it. Tell me, Christie, who are you and how did you get where you are today?
My name is Christie Lee. I'm the State and Local Affairs Director at United Launch Alliance. We're the rocket company that's headquartered here in Centennial, Colorado. I'm a native of Colorado, so I've lived here my whole life. One funny thing is I grew up in eastern Colorado, a big cow town at the time. It was very different back then. I went to Elizabeth High School. Grew up not even aware that we had aerospace in Colorado, so that was just something that nobody talked about, and it was kind of by design back then, right? Because there's a lot of defense systems, and space just wasn't as commercialized as it is now. So had no idea that aerospace was a thing, and did an internship in college at CSU with the state legislature, and learned about state politics, and I thought it was pretty interesting, and I really liked how the state level politics really affect your daily life, and how our citizen legislature represents its constituents. I thought it was very unique that they live in your town, they work in your town, they're regular people that you see every day.
So you found aerospace through government affairs?
So I worked at the state legislature. I worked in legislative council for 7 years. That was my first real job out of college, where I did nonpartisan research and committee staff for the state legislature on both parties, and we also wrote the voter information guide. So through that, I learned about state and local government. My chair at the time of House Business was Joe Rice, who now is the Director of Government Affairs at Lockheed Martin. He pulled me over to Lockheed Martin Space when he got the job over there, and I worked there for 10 years and then came over to ULA a couple years ago.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's an interesting thing that, most people think space and are like, oh, engineers or everything's tied directly to building the rocket or things around it, but it's like the policies that are around aerospace have a major impact. And like with a company like ULA, Lockheed, on, like you kind of have to have an advocate to be able to go out there and continue forward. And I mean, I'm assuming that's most of your job is just those communications, talking, trying to get things dialed up.
No, you're exactly right. Especially at the state and local level, I think our congressional members and the federal government understands it a little bit more because that's who buys rockets, right? Who buys rockets other than Space Force and other government customers. So they understand it. When it gets to the state and local level, they're citizens. It's a citizen legislature. So you have teachers, you have lawyers, you have people who have never heard, like myself before I got into aerospace, that never even knew we had aerospace in Colorado. So just a lot of who we are, what we do, why it's important that we're here in the state. A lot of people don't know that Colorado is actually #1 per capita in aerospace employment in the nation. So we actually beat out Florida, California, all the states that a lot of people do think of when it comes to aerospace. So a lot of my job is just explaining, that we're here and we're in Colorado. We're headquartered here in Colorado. ULA has 1,400 employees, a lot of engineering design. We're in our launch control room right now, so we do launch operations out of here as well. So a lot of exciting things in Colorado that just making people aware, and especially our elected officials as they make key decisions that we're here and how that impacts us.
Tell me about ULA, right? Because you have Lockheed, there's Boeing, they're two separate companies. And I mean, obviously I know a little bit about ULA and aerospace, but tell me how it came to be.
Yeah, so back in the early 2000s, Lockheed was launching the Atlas rocket and Boeing was launching the Delta. And in around 2005, 6-ish, they both wanted to get out of the launch business. They do a lot of different things. And the government came in and said, no, To make the story short, we need to get our assets into space, key national security assets and satellites into space. So we need an assured access to space. And they formed United Launch Alliance as a joint venture between Lockheed and Boeing to provide that assured access to space for our national security assets. So we were formed then. We've been in Centennial ever since. This is our headquarters. And we've been operating the Atlas and Delta rockets since we were formed. And over the last few years, we've been developing, instead of operating two different systems, we have developed our own rocket based on the best of both of those two rockets and the legacy to develop our own rocket, Vulcan. And that's what you see behind me is our new Vulcan rocket. So that will be able to do everything that Atlas and Delta has done in the past when it comes to national security launch, and it can do everything that we've done in the past with one system, so we can operate one rocket that can do everything.
That makes everything simplified is good.
Yeah.
So when we talk about ULA being headquartered here, obviously, we're talking about, I'm assuming, design, the control room, control for missions. Does that also go into manufacturing, or is that still spread out?
So we do, in Colorado, we have our engineering and design, so all of our engineers, and then of course the design folks, and they sit in the launch operations control room during launch. So we have launch operations in Florida or California, wherever we're launching. And then we have our engineers here because they're the ones that developed and worked on all these programs. So if something were to happen, they're readily available to help. So that's what this launch control room does. We manufacture out in Alabama.
Okay.
And then we barge our rockets to either Vandenberg Space Force Base in California or Cape Canaveral Space Force Base in Florida. And we launch out of each of those depending on where we're going in space.
I think I hadn't thought about this before, but it just hit me that for your role in how governments interact with ULA, I always thought, like, well, of course you're going to be working with Colorado, but it's like you work beyond that, right? I mean, policies state to state change, federal, everything. I mean, are you primarily focused on Colorado policies, or do you look at that broader spectrum?
Yeah, I cover that broader spectrum. So I do all state and local in all the states where we have a presence at ULA. Colorado a lot because we're headquartered here, so it's one of our key states. We have the largest number of employees here with about 1,400. So any laws that go into affect our cost of doing business, with 1,400 employees in the state. So it's a lot of tracking and keeping up on what's going on in the business environment. Which is where a lot of our chambers come in to play, that we really rely on them to provide us input on what policies are out there that are affecting business, that flag for us to pay attention to and get involved.
And so when you're talking about your headquarters are here, you've got 1,400 employees. For you who travels around a ton, what would you say makes the South Metro region unique?
Yeah, there's a lot of things, I think. I think one major theme that I see across all of Colorado, and specifically in the South Denver area, is collaboration. I think we work really well together. The old saying, a rising tide lifts all boats. I think we all do believe in that, and a lot of the companies in Colorado work together to grow and thrive, and we call ourselves competimates or frenemies or whatever you want to,
Yeah.
So one day we're competing on a mission, but another day we're working on a mission together. So we really do have that collaborative spirit, and that extends also to our partners in the community. So our elected officials work with us. I mean, our local governments, our mayors, our city council members, they're out in the community constantly getting feedback and listening to what the community wants, what business wants. We have, the South Metro Denver Chamber, the Denver South, a lot of organizations that work together to help businesses thrive, to help the community thrive. And it's just really unique to Colorado that we really do collaborate more than other areas that I've seen.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, we've talked with David before and Marissa before, talking about collaboration throughout this region. Apparently it's a thing. Like, you wouldn't know it because it's such a behind the scenes thing. And you think, oh, well, cities can work together. But I am actually really interested in the fact that you are also echoing that sentiment. So with aerospace being in so many places in the country, why was the South Metro region chosen to be a headquarter?
Yeah, so a lot of it has to do with our legacy facilities that were in place with Lockheed and Boeing at the time. But in Colorado, we have a very heavy customer base. So what we launch anything from GPS satellites that are built out at Lockheed Martin Space right here in Colorado, also operated out at Schriever Air Force Space Force Base now. So GPS, a lot of people don't know, is a fully Colorado program.
Oh.
Yeah, so very cool. Yeah, so they build them, we launch them. We also do like weather satellites that are built, the GOES series of weather satellites were built out at Lockheed Martin Space, and we launched those. We also have BAE Systems up in Boulder. We have Sierra Space. We'll be launching their Dream Chaser, which is a small kind of a shuttle-like cargo plane up to the space station. So we'll be doing that soon. So a lot of
so cool. All
yeah,
of this is
so
cool.
a lot of really cool partnerships in the state, and
Yeah.
a lot of really cool programs that we're launching that were built in Colorado, launched by us.
What has kind of prompted Colorado to be such a hub for aerospace? Was there a thing in the, like some legislation back in the day, or was it?
So I can give a little history of the Lockheed Martin Space Facility, and then a lot of things grew around that.
Okay.
So it broke ground in 1956 when the Glenn L. Martin Company received the Intercontinental Ballistic Missile ICBM program. And so at the time, Soviet launched missiles couldn't come this far inland. And then there was also a protective barrier with the Red Rock formation. So we have red rocks that go from Boulder down to Colorado Springs. And they kind of hide everything, right? And they're a protective shield, I'd say, because they used to test engines and things out there. But also it's one of the most geologically stable locations in the northern United States, or in America.
I was going to say, I'm like,
yeah, it's like
obviously it's not
North
California.
America. Yeah. But yeah, so there's a lot of test facilities that are built on that bedrock that aren't disturbed by anything else. So when that came here, the Atlas was built out at Lockheed Martin Space here. So a lot of that development kind of came around it, and then a lot of the customer base grew. The military bases were close by, so a lot of that infrastructure started growing around that. So there was a little piece of history there for where space came from.
And I would imagine too that, when you have, here's a major company doing a thing here, you're going to attract smaller companies, which can grow into bigger companies, and you can develop that. But, I feel like too, the what's the word I'm trying to think of? Wow, I cannot think of it. But just the community that comes around it, right? You bringing in talented, educated people who then live in the communities, who then care about those communities, want to support and lift them. And I mean, it's no secret that the Denver metro area is one of the more well-educated areas in the country. I mean, would you attest that having aerospace companies based here does contribute, but it's kind of this two-way street where it's you bring in good people, but those good people make the area better?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I think it also spurs that innovation, right? I mean, if you're a supplier, I mean, we have suppliers across the state. We have hundreds of suppliers across the state, and so do all the other aerospace companies. And they may do one niche product, right, for one of us, but then once they're in the system of the aerospace and defense world, they can grow that business within aerospace and defense, or maybe they're just doing manufacturing for farm equipment out in eastern Colorado, but then maybe that can translate over into aerospace and defense. And once that door opens, the opportunities are endless when it comes to aerospace in Colorado, especially.
So you were just saying before that aerospace could really benefit in Colorado from just more exposure, is that right? Or was that ULA specific?
I think it's aerospace in Colorado in general. I think over the years, we haven't done a really good job of selling that we're number one in aerospace, and I think that is by design. Historically, we worked on very closed systems. I think now that space is getting more commercialized and out in the public more, I think it's on us to spread that message that we are here and we are doing those cool things, and especially when it comes to our talent pipeline. Like a kid like myself, growing up in eastern Colorado, had no idea there was aerospace in Colorado. So it's up to us to get that word out so those students know that you can work in aerospace and stay in Colorado and work on all those cool programs. we launch all sorts of cool things for, from GPS, weather satellites, we even did our first human space flight launch.
Oh,
so
okay.
we launched the Starliner capsule, the astronauts to the space station last year. So that was our first human space flight launch, and it was extremely successful on our Atlas rocket. So, I mean, who knew that students in Centennial, Colorado, or around, could work on human space flight right here in Colorado? I think a lot of students don't know that, and I think it's on us to tell our story better and keep telling everyone that we're here.
Hey, this is the light sail message for this episode 3, and I want to pick up on what our guest Christie is talking about regarding how easy it is to be unaware of the worlds that might be right around you. In her case, growing up here in Colorado, she didn't know aerospace was so prevalent on the Front Range, even though it is very prevalent, but I'll leave it to her details on that. What it brings to light is that you never know what's around you until you start investigating, and the answers may even shed light on the way things work in your world, making things that frustrate you instead seem impressive. Or you could discover you have the ability to influence something for the better and improve actually thousands of lives. In the almost 10 years that I've owned LightSail, sometimes I get to know a new client and find out after a few meetings how very important that company is to a way larger group of people than you would ever imagine. And oftentimes there are whole industries of cool things just around the corner, maybe from your house. So get curious, or stay curious, and find new answers or improve the world by doing your own research. And if you want to get involved in aerospace, then I'll get you to Christie's next answer. So with aerospace being such a big thing, what sort of space organizations exist that somebody might run into or benefit the industry that are around Colorado?
Yeah, so there's a few. So the Colorado Space Business Roundtable, that's generally the smaller business-to-business organization in the state. So really getting the space companies to network and talk with each other and doing business with each other across the state. So small suppliers to large primes, just getting that connection so that if you're a small business looking to connect, that's a great organization. Their membership is very reasonable. We have student memberships as well. I'm on their board. So that's definitely one if you're a business trying to get into aerospace to be a part of. And then we also have the Colorado Space Coalition that's housed within the Denver Chamber of Commerce. And they really do kind of that high-level advocacy to the state and then to our congressional members on policies affecting space companies. And then they also host a booth at the Space Symposium, showing what Colorado has to offer. And that's one of the biggest shows in the world on space, and that's right down in Colorado Springs at the Broadmoor every year. So that's a really
I've been there
exciting,
thanks to you. It was super cool.
Very cool event. And then we also have an organization that's led up by Stacy DeFore over at Lockheed Martin Space called Citizens for Space. And that is really that grassroots citizen portion. So if regular, everyday people in Colorado want to get involved, want to learn more about space, want to get to know what's going on in their backyard when it comes to space, Citizens for Space is a great group, and that's housed within the Colorado Business Roundtable, which is all different industries. So really pulling from every type of business to gather that grassroots support of space to everyone across the state. So if you're just interested in learning more about space or getting more involved, any of those organizations are great. Citizens is definitely the more, if you're not directly in the space business, that's a great one to start.
Cool. So I'm gonna lean in a little bit into my improv days, because every second I prepare a list of questions here. And they're gonna be probably mostly irrelevant, but mostly done just for entertainment's sake. How many launches have you seen in person?
Oh, that's a tough one. Probably, I know you'd think I would count and you'd think I would know all of them. They all have a special place in my heart, but probably 20.
That is awesome.
Yeah, and I'd say my favorite is the Delta IV Heavy, which is now retired, which is super sad because it was my favorite. Launched on my birthday in 2014, so that was really
awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
And now, also, you're 3 miles away, right? Isn't that the thing from the launch pad?
Depends on the rocket, depends on,
okay.
But generally, yeah.
Generally that.
Yeah.
Which also, through the chamber, I had the experience of doing their like simulation. That was like,
Oh yeah,
what? It's that loud? 3 miles
it's really
away?
loud.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else? What?
Light travels faster than sound, so you see it
Right.
before you hear it. So it's really cool if you're at a launch, you'll see the rocket start lifting and then you just kind of wait and then you see birds flying, things start happening and then all of a sudden it's like the sound really like you can feel it in your chest. Like it's so loud and so like impactful and it's always gets me a little teary-eyed.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Plus, if you go, then there's a tie to Colorado.
Yes.
Out of these places.
Yes.
What is the smallest satellite that you have seen in person?
I mean, they're doing what they call CubeSats now, and some of those can be that big,
Yeah.
like a tissue box.
Okay. Largest that you've seen?
Probably some of the military type one, even GPS. Some of those are the size of a little smaller than a school bus, like a van, school bus size.
Yeah. Let's see. What is the coolest space program you have been around? Like most unique, something that Christie's like, I like this thing.
Oh, I'd probably say OSIRIS-REx. So that was the first mission to grab a sample of an asteroid.
Oh yeah.
And that was built out at Lockheed Martin Space. So I was out at Lockheed at the time when they were developing that program. And they had to develop a fake asteroid wall. And so they didn't know what it would look like or how, so they had to make this whole wall out of styrofoam and rocks and just so they could test landing on the asteroid. It's basically a vacuum and it just sucked up dust and brought it home. And so I was there when they were developing that, and then ULA launched that mission. So that was really cool. It made it to Bennu is the asteroid, and then it has returned the samples. I believe it was last year or the year before. So they're looking at all the samples from that mission. So that was just really cool because it's a first time thing, never been done. And awesome. I got to kind of see the development of it and the launch side of it. So like kind of full circle. And then when it
That's amazing, which I know is like rare too to see the like a lifestyle cycle or something.
Some of these missions take a long time.
What's the farthest mission you have talked about, been around?
I remember Juno, so a mission to Jupiter. I think it took 6 years to get there, just to get to where.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, imagine if you sent an email and it took 6 years, and then you're just hoping that it turns out. I mean, it's just like hard to even understand working on a program and then waiting 6 years to see if it actually works, right? So,
right.
Very interesting.
Would you want to visit space?
No.
No. No?
Nope. I love space. I think it has its place in our society. I think it does a lot of great things. I am not one that needs to be in space.
You're like feet on the ground kind of person?
I think maybe it's a control thing, but I think it's if I can't just get out and go home when I want to, I'm not a fan of those situations. So.
That's so funny. What do you make of astrology? Is it astrology, right? Isn't that the one
like
with the star
stars
signs?
and signs, yeah.
Because I know there's always such a just like, I mean, it's funny, but it's
yeah. I think a lot of people get them mixed up, and
there's astrology and astronomy.
Astronomy, very different.
Yes.
And so any kids that are thinking about going into aerospace, astronomy is.
So you can't major in Scorpio or Leo or.
I don't think so, but I'm sure there's somewhere in the world where you can.
Do you look up at the night sky and like be like, oh, all my stuff's going that way?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have. You can actually track the space station online, so I've done that a few times, and like shown my people that aren't in the space world, like, hey, it'll come overhead at this time, and then they're like, oh, that's the space station. It'll just kind of zoom across the sky.
Right?
So
Cool.
I do that sometimes. Or if you go to, Colorado, we're very lucky to have dark skies. And so I took my whole, all my cousins are from Chicago, so they never see stars ever. And so I took them out in Rocky Mountain National Park in the middle of the night and got to see the whole Milky Way and satellites just coming by. You could see regular satellites, not just the space station, just clear as day. So really cool.
That stuff's amazing.
Yeah,
And,
I
you know,
love
being
it.
able to keep those dark skies too. That's
Yeah.
close to my heart. Like, it's good to be
Yes.
able to see that stuff and preserve that night sky, because when you're looking up and you actually see all the Milky Way and all those things, it is inspiring. I mean, for me, being the space nerd side of me, I know the first time that I looked through a telescope at Saturn, and you could see the rings, and it was just in my backyard with a telescope I bought for like $200. I was blown away, and it was just like, wow, what else can I see with this?
Yeah.
Do you have any moments like that where you're just like, this was the thing?
Yeah, I think just the moon in general, like, right? Like, just picturing that people have been on the moon and we're soon to go back to the moon. So that's just kind of mind-blowing to me every time I see it. I just look at it and I'm like, we're gonna go there again, and we've been there, like our little flag's there.
Yeah.
It's very, interesting.
Is it like the surface of the moon is interesting to you, or is it just the idea of
I think just the idea that you see that every day and that people have just been there.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so that's just blows my mind.
Well, and the fact too that you have, this is kind of me maybe going full circle on everything we've talked about and your position and everything. You have these incredibly specific missions doing these incredible things, like getting out to the moon, where you are landing with precision in a place that was mapped because of another satellite that was there with precision. And amidst all of that, you still have to function here on Earth in order to get those materials and those people and that money. So it has to be supported, it has to be funded, you have to have the education system around it. Aerospace really is to me, I would say it is an incredibly admirable industry to be around in how much it moves humanity forward. As lame as that is to say,
you're right. And it, one thing that we are very proud of at ULA is since we were formed in 2006, we've had over 160 consecutive successful launches. What we do is really important, and we take that to heart here at ULA, and we really do strive to do the best at all times in every mission, and especially our next mission is always the most important to us, and we are hoping that with our new Vulcan era, we continue that success streak in the future.
Awesome. That's such a good one to go out on. Thank you, Christie. I appreciate you doing this. Thank you to Christie Lee and those around her at ULA for helping to make this video happen. You can find out more about the aerospace industry in Colorado and right here in the South Metro region through a variety of aerospace-specific organizations, but also through groups like the South Metro Denver Chamber, who, as of this recording, has 8 very awesome organizations listed under the aerospace and aviation category, who often collaborate with the Chamber. Events and info are listed on the website bestchamber.com. It's a pleasure to continue bringing these conversations to you. I'm Tom Barr. I own Lightsail, which produces video content for all types of companies and organizations across the Front Range and beyond. If you know someone looking to have a conversation on professional video services, I'm always happy to have a conversation about it, or you can visit lightsailvideo.com so you can fly by light. Thanks for watching.